Call to order our planning commission meeting for Monday, July 15th. We do have a public hearing at 6:05, so we're going to jump around a little bit. But first on the agenda is to approve the minutes from our June 17th meeting.
I move to approve the minutes.
I second it.
All in favor, say aye. In the informational, the CCLD review newsletter. Anybody have any questions or comments about that?
I will just highlight, there's a section in there about the new I-codes will be coming out for 2018.
The new what?
The building codes, the 2018 version will be coming live here in the next year, so I'll be attending some training to get up to speed on that.
That's part of your 6 hours? Is training?
It will be, yes.
Okay. Nice. You want to jump into the building inspector report as well?
Yeah, just got up to speed today. I've been gone for a week, but I see we're at 100 permits for the year, which is right on course, so things are clicking right along.
And are quite a few of those are the, utilizing the city's opportunity for new buildings and, new houses and getting the package, whatever you'd like to call that package?
Yep, we just, last week, Jim Tooze was here from Litchfield, and he closed out one of the houses, so they'll be getting there. It's in a package.
Good.
So,
All right. Well, we can, we've got nothing in new business, so we'll jump into old business, which is what our public hearing is about tonight. So we'll run through that, then close our meeting. So in old business, the city has received a conditional use permit application from the Painesville Community Service Center. The property in question is located at 115 James Street East in Painesville. It's zoned C1 Central Business District and is identified as tax parcel number 70.39005.0000, which is legally described as follows to wit: the westerly 40 feet of lots 5 and 6 in Block 2 in Haynes Addition to Painesville, according to the plat and survey thereof on file and of record in the office of the county recorder in and for Stearns County. The westerly 40 feet of the southerly 35 feet of Lot 4 in Block 2 in Haynes Addition to Painesville, according to the plat and survey thereof on file and in record in the office of the county recorder and in Stearns County, Minnesota. The application seeks a conditional use permit to develop up to 4 residential units, being a multifamily dwelling, which is a conditional use under City Code Chapter 36, Sections 36 through 46, which provides that a multifamily dwelling is a conditional use, provided that there is either adjacent to or provided off-street parking, and that there is no conflict with adjacent commercial activities. And with that, we still got a minute. So any discussion on that before we close our meeting and open up the public hearing?
Did I read somewhere about the parking that there was?
Yes,
Here it is.
there is adequate parking.
There's off-street parking for at least 6 vehicles. And is there a requirement of space per housing unit? I mean, is it as long as, well, I guess the minimum would be 1 space per housing
Yeah.
unit?
There's 2 in the garage, but I think they're big enough for a hearse, so if you had smaller cars, you'd probably get more in there than 1. But then they have the 2 outside also,
Okay.
or 3 outside. There's a handicap, there's 4 outside?
You could actually get 5 cars outside, but it would be tight. There's enough room for 4 outside parking. And you got the 2 garages.
So 1 per unit for sure outside, plus the garages. Okay, thank you.
All right, it is 6:05, so we will close our planning committee meeting and open the public hearing for the conditional use permit app. Anybody wish to speak on that? Pat, can you take the podium and state your name?
Pat Flanders, for those who don't know me. Community Services, as you may recall, just a little history here, donated the building to, the funeral home. Daniel Anderson donated the building to Community Services, and it was with the understanding that the new Community Services would resell it. They don't want to maintain the building. They don't have use for it. They don't want to get into the rental business. So Tim Rothstein is here. He's the prospective purchaser who will be buying it if the conditional use is granted. In reference to the parking, it is a big garage. If you were driving small cars, you could actually get 4 in the garage, but we're not assuming that, and it'd have to be, he'd have as many as 4 rental units, so probably 2 of the units, you might assume the ones with the most people or that are larger could probably have 2 parking spaces where the other 2 would only be allowed 1. 5 would be tight, but there's plenty of room for 4 across the back. I guess that's for him to sort out, but there is adequate parking for minimum of 1 per unit. Partly a comment and also a question. I know you, the planning commissioner, are you the ones, are you at any stage in addressing just the general rezoning about downtown? Have you gotten into that yet or not?
The zoning the zoning section of the ordinance book is being codified right now. There'll be 1 more meeting next week, and then it should come to the planning commission, their first meeting in August.
I see.
It'll be presented to them first for review.
I might be interested in coming to that, actually.
I believe we did not make any changes to this section. It would still be a conditional use to have living quarters downtown because of the parking.
Because of the parking. Okay, well, maybe I don't need to come to the meeting. That was kind of what I was wondering about. But the goal is to bring life back to downtown. That's why it's being reconsidered. So if there was a large project for senior living or whatever, it would also have to involve parking. So I kind of get that. I'm segueing a little bit, but just curious about it. That's about all I have to say in regard to the former funeral home. Dave Muchkanos is here. He's the chair of the Community Services. He's the one that signed the purchase agreement conditioned upon this.
I just had a question, whether you answer, just to understand that this would be a rental unit for apartments. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yep.
Not a type of situation where they would sell it off and have it like a
Condo or something?
Yeah.
No, it's apartments.
Rental.
Yep.
Okay.
Has any planning been done yet, Pat, as far as the units themselves, as far as, maybe our building official has looked into this too, but as far as fire separation between units, egress, those sort of things?
I think we've had a phone call, but that's as far as I've gotten involved in it, so I don't know.
Yeah, according to Tim, the discussion was get your conditional use, and then Brad will be happy to meet with him and discuss all that. This isn't his first parade. He owns other rental properties, and his intent, he realizes he needs to bring things up to code, and that he will.
Yeah, just trying to think of the layout on that, of how that's gonna be made into 4 separate units, having, like I said, meeting.
It's not.
Fire breaks and-
It's not gonna be easy, but I'm not interested in doing a typical rental unit. None of my properties are set up that way. I tend to lean towards the very, very nice rental units, high-end, that type of stuff. I don't like the trashy, junky. I try to stay away from that as far as I can. And all my properties, I've got properties scattered all over Minnesota, are that way. They're all gone through top to bottom, and they're nice. They cost a little bit more to rent, but they're nice. And when I seen this facility, I found out it had a garage on it. That was one of the things I liked, is you could have a garage inside, your vehicle could be inside everything. With the inside being totally redone, they could be some very nice units.
There's some datiness, and like the garage roof is shot. It leaks like a sieve. It's going to cost quite a bit money just to repair that, either putting a flat roof on it or a gabled roof. So he's going to have a lot of investment in it to bring it up to snuff, and so he's not going to be able to have low rents on it. Won't cash flow that way.
So that was the question I was going to ask. This is going to be a market rent building? It's not Section 8 or low income?
No, I don't, it's not Section 8. I can't do it with this building, the amount of money I gotta spend to bring it to the standards that I want, it'd never work.
Thanks, Pat.
Yeah.
All right, anybody else wish to? I'm Riley Flanders, and obviously I have an interest in the sale of the property, but as a neighbor, I also have an interest in having as many of the buildings downtown filled as possible. I don't think that vacant buildings help my property value any. And I also obviously think that Community Services is a great organization, and getting the property sold for them and getting it filled is, in my opinion, an advantage to me in multiple ways. Thanks, Riley. Anyone else?
I'm Rick Block, and I own a building next to Cronus Lanes, and I question 5 parking spots, you know. Every night I'm pretty busy there until midnight, and it's pretty noisy. And if you got higher end rent, you're gonna have to insulate pretty good because those pins are crashing. You can hear them outside quite a bit, and I can't see how you can get 5 cars back there. You can get them in the garage, but
Well, that's why I said 4, 5 would be really tight, but
Yeah, the application doesn't refer to 5, it refers to 4.
4 is what I. to
no,
keep
2
it-
outside and 2 inside.
You could get 4 across the back easily. But those would block the garage doors, wouldn't they? Well, so you'd have the people that would get 2 parking spots, and obviously you have one right behind each door, so it's the same. Yeah, that's a good question. 2 that only have 1 spot, would have to park within that block the door.
So if there's issues with parking back there, who do we talk to? The city or him?
Either.
It's already full back there. I mean, from the hotel, there's a lot of cars parked back there every night. And I got a lot of boulders coming in there, and I don't want the streets full. It's tight there anyhow. You know, it was kind of
I think.
it was a little nuisance when the funeral was there, but that's, only one night, so.
I think there's 2 sides to that, because you also run the problem with bowlers and everybody else that are parking in those spots, when those are private spots. Now, I think that could be remedied by signs. It simply says.
You mean in the
private
back?
parking.
No, the boulders don't park in the back. They park in the front
Yeah.
and
So that
across
would-
the
that would-
street
that
and
wouldn't be an
PJ's
issue.
parking lot and in
That
front
wouldn't-
of
that wouldn't be an
Riley's
issue.
building there.
That wouldn't be an
Yeah.
issue there.
Just putting up the noise issue, so don't want any complaints.
Thanks, Rick. Anyone else?
My question, I'm Doris Wetland. My question is, the long-term that you have for the downtown community of Painesville. We just had a meeting with an economical development person that we met with on what the taxpayers paid for Bolton Mink to bring in a lady to discuss with us to revitalize our downtown of our community of Painesville. And my question is, parking will be a concern. They're going to want to park in front of their building, and they'll be on the streets. And you have businesses down there already that need lots of parking. And is our taxes going to be dropped with all the housing that you have going on downtown? Or is our housing value or our business property value still going to go up, or is it going to be going down? And I don't want to hear the answer of something is better than nothing that I have been told many times, and we fill these places with whatever it is, like the old Zap building, we put a commercial building in there, business in there, because something is better than nothing. And then that ended up to be a nonstop parking issue there because they had no place else to park and they still don't have a place to park, but right on our main street. So is there a long-term planning here or isn't there? I mean, as if you know right now, if you come downtown, mainly on Thursday nights, I see it. I don't know what time Carrie sees it, but on Thursday nights, you come downtown and you think that there's going to be a hillbilly party out in front of my place. And I have people driving by and saying, I'm not coming in due to the fact of we don't know what kind of riffraff you have in your town. So I'm losing business by allowing low income, which he did clarify now that he plans to have it a higher state apartment building. But I don't want it to be changed after the fact they're in there, and then all of a sudden it's like, let's take something, it's better than nothing, and then here we're back down into where we are with on top of twice as nice, and the apartment building's full of these people that are with drug and alcohol rehabs, and destroying some of the personal property on some of the businesses downtown. And I filed a police report, still waiting for a copy of it, on what they did to the flowers and everything out in front of my building. I'm constantly picking up all their smoking and everything, pop cans and everything, and I watch them. I literally watch them outside my building with Serenity Path, which I don't believe that kind of business belongs downtown. Now they need housing. These people need housing. And are we gonna put those people in his apartment building? I had to give a blueprint before I was able to start my building plan. I guess I'd really like to see a good blueprint before anything else is decided on this here. So his understanding is feasible because right now, the community center still owns it. He does not own it yet. I think it would be best for a long-term plan to know exactly what is our city doing, or did we just spend all of our tax money meeting with the economical development person on making a plan for our downtown businesses? I have made a long-term commitment here. I'm 19 years going on 20 with Queen Bees. I like to keep it for a few more years and I don't want it destroyed. And parking, it's an issue and it always has been an issue. So if we want future events in that downtown, we have to have a long-term plan. We can't be shooting from the hip. Thank you.
Thanks, Doris.
The question that Doris had on the valuation of property, your property is valuated, the assessor comes in and he looks at what that property is being used at and what it's zoned as. The valuation of your property really doesn't get impacted by the property next to you. So if your property is Queen Bees, it would be a commercial property and valued at what other commercial properties and restaurants are valued at.
But it also goes by your neighboring events. If you want somebody on the high end coming by my restaurant and they have to deal with some of the stuff that's happening in this town, you think that I'm gonna sell it? Absolutely not, period. Because they're not gonna wanna be by that kind of an environment.
The hearing tonight is in regards to the conditional use
I think
for
it
parking.
must be a long-term
It's
plan,
not.
not a shooting on
It's
the hip.
it's not regard to cigarette butts and pop cans. It's regarding, their conditional use application is regarding if they can have residents living there, if they have the parking. We have numerous buildings downtown that have rental property above or inside their building that have to have parking for their people. I am aware of the issue with the cigarette butts and the cans and the flowers. And we are working on that. We talked about it again this morning, to try to work with everybody to get along in that area. No one should have to walk through other people's cigarette smoke. Nobody should have to have children walk through other people's cigarette smoke to get into the library. It's a bad situation that needs to be addressed, and
Well,
people
that
need to
is
have
another
some,
issue that they're saying, They have no place to go. There's no patio, there's no this, there's no that. Where do you want us to go? Where is his four apartment people going to go for, say, a patio, for outside air? Are they gonna be standing on the streets also?
But the streets and the sidewalks are public.
I know
Anybody
it
can
is.
stand on
I
them.
know it is.
Anybody can sit on them. Anybody can smoke on them. But
Exactly.
you hope, and you can work with the people to make sure that everybody can enjoy the area together and have at least some respect for each other in that way.
You would hope we could.
May I say something? Doris and I and friends, we're not that far off, it sounds like it right now, but I'd like to tear the whole block down from Corner Drug all the way up to Stoneburners. She's aware of that, and bring in a multi-story residential, and it could be combined, part of it over 55s and part of it open to the public. It's an energetic plan, but that's what our group attempted to address for about 2 years. Personally, I'm not giving up on it, but that's a story for another night. It really doesn't relate to this. As far as the funeral home building is concerned, it's structurally very sound, but it's very outdated. And if it sits there, it's going to deteriorate. The garage is in, to use a lakeshore term, advanced eutrophication right now without getting that roof repaired. So that's a building that's very worth saving. But if it just sits there, we all know any building that isn't being taken care of and upgraded, it goes, either improves or goes the other direction. That's the way I see it with this one. I still want to tear down all those other buildings in that whole shot. I do. And in terms of tax dollars, it'll generate more tax revenue. Obviously, if it's improved, whether it's 4 units or 3 units, the valuation is going to go this way, sitting there empty. So we're not, I share a lot of the same concerns that Doris has, but not about this particular unit.
Rachel Gilbertson. We have PJs. We own the parking lot next door or across the street. And we have semi-trucks coming in and out of there 3, 4, 5 times a week. And they're back and there, it's hard to get those trucks in there. I can imagine families in some of those apartments, if they're hanging out on the streets and whatnot. I don't want to be out there, you know, chasing kids away or because they have no place to play. And also, the office buildings all pay for us rent to park in that parking lot, so there's no room for, you know, any outside vehicles. It's our lot, and I have a hard time parking there myself. We also have the row houses down Lake Avenue, and those places have the people complain about stuff getting stolen and stuff out of their yards, and that's from the plaza. So if these apartments are gonna be high-end, I don't think high-end apartments are gonna suit well next to the plaza. Just my thought.
Thank you. Anyone else?
As you've probably figured out, I'm Tim Rothstein. These units that I'm looking at putting in there, the average renter spends 18 months in a unit, and then they leave. There's reasons why they only spend 18 months in a unit and leave, and 90% of that is how it's run and how it's done. Renters that start getting behind on rent, they get to the point where they're so far behind they can't make enough money to catch up, and they move out and leave. That's one reason. The properties that I currently own, I have a waiting list right now, and some of these people have been on the list for over a year to get in my properties. The area I'm talking about is up in Aiken, Minnesota. I do have houses in Candy, Ojai, Litchfield, all over. And I have people that want to get in them as well. A lot of it comes down to how you run the properties and how it's taken care of. If they're run properly, they're taken care of properly, you don't have any of these problems. And people generally don't leave. My turnover rate in housing is very, very low. It just doesn't happen that often. I've had 2 cases that happened this year up in Aiken that have left since the first of the year. One, the gentleman passed away, and the other one, he inherited a farmhouse and a farm, so he moved into that. Otherwise, I haven't lost any tenants at all from any of my houses in Aiken. They're all perfectly happy. As far as parking, we're looking at parking on the property. We're not looking at parking on the street or anyplace else. So I don't see the issue on it unless people are wanting to use that parking spot that's on that property to back a truck in, or, they need the room for that. I don't know. I don't know what goes on around the building without that. Well, when we talk about high-end units for rentals, I'm not talking about units that cost $1,500 a month, because that is not affordable for the people living in the community. I'm not trying to price it out of their reach, but when you do the pricing on a unit, you have the typical low end, which is cheap rent, and you get people in there that don't take care of nothing. They don't care about rules. They do what they want to do. That type of people, you can weed out by pushing the rent up higher. You don't want to push it up to the point where you put people in there that think they own everything and do whatever they want. There is an in-between where you get people that are good, and they pay their rent on time, they take care of everything, and you don't have these problems. That is the category of people that I shoot for on the rentals. I give them nice properties, I give them nice stuff, I charge them more, but I'm not charging them to the point where they got to be a millionaire to live there neither, because that ain't doing the community any good neither. And basically that's where I'm at with this. I looked at this place and I liked it because of just the way the building sits there, everything about it. The garage that's on it, it's going to take a little bit of money to fix it up, I understand that, but it could be very nice when it's done. If it's decided that they don't want rentals in there, that's fine too. I don't care either way. I'm here. If the community wants it done, I can do it. But I'm not going to change things to the point where I'm changing what I've done in the past, and I'm changing what's working very well to go into something that I don't know if it's going to work or not. That I won't do. I want to stick with what I'm doing because what I'm doing works. I got a track record of it, and I've got a lot of people that want to get in my stuff. And that's primarily what I'm here for tonight. So I'll leave it at that.
I guess one of my questions is, do you have any concern of, Rick brought up the bowling alley. I mean, that's a business that's been there. Like, do you have any noise concerns with that, or would you plan to insulate accordingly? Like, what is the plan for?
It's an apartment. When you move into an apartment, you realize you're going to have noise problems when you move in there. That's not something, you're not moving into a house.
Yep.
House is a different story. When you move into an apartment, you're going to have possibility of some kids playing in the hall.
Right.
You're going to have a possibility you're going to hear your neighbors through the walls. That's all part of living in an apartment.
Right, and I guess that's just the understanding that I would hope, obviously, that they would have that understanding.
Right, and that's all explained to them ahead of time. You don't put people in there that think they're going to have total privacy from the world, because it's not going to happen. It never happens. I've got, just to give you an example, I've got an apartment complex in Aiken where I've got a mentally handicapped gal living there. She's good enough that she can live by herself, but she's got to have a guardian. And she gets extremely noisy sometimes, but all the rest of the renters that are there have been told about it before they moved in. They knew about it, and everybody's fine with it. They help her when they can, and that's pretty much how it works. It's not, you can't expect perfection from an apartment house, because that's not what you're going to have. It's not like renting a normal house. And I don't have any objections as far as, I've got veterans living there, I've got, all different types of people. That doesn't matter. I really don't hold any judgment against anybody on that. The biggest thing is everybody gets along. That's one of the stipulations that I do have. So that's all I got to say on it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
folks. I'm Dave Mushkanalis. I'm the chairman of the Community Service Center. We're the seller of the building, and want to maybe clarify a couple of things that have been raised with me. First of all, the building was given to us as a gift by the Daniels family. We've never received anything like that before. Then we had to have an appraisal done to make sure that we didn't get ripped off somehow, and it was appraised very highly for the purpose of their taxes, I believe. But we lowered the price to make it marketable, and even then, downtown properties are not being swept up. And the reason is we had at least, as I understand it from our realtor, a couple of different other business people look at it too, but it's going to take considerable investment to make that a worthwhile building to make it go. We're very pleased. I've never met Mr. Rothstein until this evening, that he is willing to make that investment. So whoever else would buy it or want to come along, and we've had no others, they're going to have to be willing to give it considerable investment, or you're going to have an empty building sitting downtown. And I don't know what we'll do with it at that point. Another very appropriate question is raised by one or two business people to me. Are we connected with and are we part of the folks that are recovering folks that are on the streets? No, we're not connected with them. They are recipients in many cases of our services, but they provide headaches for us too at times, just like they're providing headaches for other folks in town. No, we're not part of that. And it's our understanding that if it's invested like it should be, that a lot of those folks will be priced out of that apartment building. So I'm not really concerned about that. We will be neighbors. If Mr. Rothstein proceeds and gets the building, we'll be neighbors, and we'll have to deal with the same issues others have raised, but it doesn't bring a worry to us at this point. If we were able to sell the building to whoever, we are then going to use those proceeds to invest in people in Painesville. That's the purpose. If we don't have the money, well, right now we're spending money to keep that building going at this point. So, and we'd be happy to, any questions that folks have about what we're going to do with it, that's it, right then. If he should not buy it, we're back on the market. It will not be an apartment building clearly, and it will have to be some other business person. So far, they have seen it to be too much investment to make it a worthwhile thing to do. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Anyone else wish to speak? All right, then we will close the public hearing and reopen our planning commission meeting and jump back into old business, which is the conditional use permit that we were just talking about. So discussions on that?
I just want to chime in on some of the concerns that I heard, especially from Doris, about the long-term planning and things like that. I moved to downtown St. Paul in 2011, right as downtown St. Paul was trying to figure out what in the heck it was going to do to maintain any sense of being alive. And what happened then was we saw a number of investors come in and buy old commercial properties and turn them into condominiums and apartments. And what happened with those condominiums and apartments is people started living downtown, they started shopping downtown, they started going to restaurants downtown. And if you go to downtown St. Paul today, it's a vibrant community that has a lot of people down there, some great farmers markets. It's a wonderful place to be and live. And yes, we have not heard from the economic advisor that we hired, but I've seen firsthand the results of bringing people into a somewhat fledgling community can do and how I can bring that up. And personally, my hope is that by bringing in more people living downtown who have a little bit more income, they might decide, hey, it's after work, I want to go to a beer. And they walk down to Doris's, they go down to Queen Bee's because it's within walking distance. They don't have to drive and worry about our friendly, police officers on the way home. And I think that could increase business downtown and hopefully drive revenue for the businesses. I've seen that happen. I think it can happen here, and I don't necessarily need an expert to tell me that. I've toured the funeral home thinking it might work for my business. It was simply just too big. I couldn't operate something in there. So I think it's going to be hard to get a business in there, given the size of it. I'm a yes vote on this because I think that it's a great idea that's going to bring people in, and given the needs of our community right now, I think it fits perfectly with what we need and what can go into that building.
very good knowledge. Anyone else?
I'd go on, and just comment that, it's my opinion that the downtown will never be what it once was. This isn't 1960. And with changes come challenges and problems, unforeseen, foreseen. And I think it's just the process of change. I'm not saying that there haven't been issues with residences downtown or particular businesses downtown, but given the choice, and not to, particularly repeat exactly what Doris said of, something's better than nothing, but in my opinion, something is better than nothing. That's just my opinion, as one member of this planning board. And I'll leave it at that. I could also comment on some of the judgmental things said this evening, but I'm just not going to go there.
Right.
So I am also a supporter and would make a motion whenever the discussion is done.
Yeah, my major concern was just that Tim would know about, fire separations, egresses, applicable codes that are going to apply to this building, and having many rental units already. He obviously understands that. So going into it, the cost involved with it, he's obviously expecting that and has taken that into consideration. So yeah, I also agree. I think it'll be a way to utilize that building and not let it go to waste, sitting there empty.
One last comment on the parking, just for what it's worth, is, those, and I don't know how many public street parking spots are in front of that building, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is. But when that business was a business, those were in some ways kind of seen as potential parking spots for that business. And so in that not being a business, there was likely a net gain of parking spots for other businesses in that area. And so some of those may or may not be used as that housing, but they certainly can't be used at night. We have, ordinances against that. So, yeah.
All right. Well, then we'll entertain a motion.
You want a motion or do the worksheet first?
Oh, we do, that's right, we do have a worksheet for this. The planning board, having reviewed the application for the conditional use permit and having heard the request of the applicant along with the public comment offered at the public hearing, finds that the conditional use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of the other properties in the immediate vicinity. Agreed?
Agreed.
That the establishment of the conditional use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding property for predominant uses in the area. Agreed?
Agreed.
That adequate utilities, access, drainage, and other necessary facilities have been or are being provided to the proposed conditional use. Agreed?
Agreed.
That adequate measures have been taken to prevent the conditional use from constituting a nuisance and to control the use in such a manner that no disturbance to neighboring properties will result. Agreed?
Agreed.
That the proposed conditional use provides adequate facilities to eliminate any traffic congestion or hazards to traffic which may result from the proposed use. Agreed?
Agreed.
That there is a demonstrated need for the proposed use. Agreed?
Agreed.
That the proposed use is in compliance with any land use adopted by the city. Agreed?
Agreed.
All right. Then we'll entertain a motion. That's basically the same.
Are you caught up there, Renee?
I am caught up, thank you.
I would make a motion to approve the report and recommendation of planning board on application for conditional use permit.
And I second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, and we'll go to council on
The 22nd. Yeah, the council will be on July 22nd, city council meeting.
All right. Our next meeting is Monday, August 5th at 6 p.m. And any other questions or comments?
I would just like to thank you for your investment in our city,
All right.
or potential.
We will adjourn our meeting.
Potential investment.